Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your hosts Edward McQueen and April Garner.
All right. We got Steve on us with us today. Maybe got him. And we're live, aren't we?
We are live.
Yeah. Good evening. I'm your host, Ed McQueen, as usual. And I'm a co-host with Miss April Garner. She's our co-host. And we're certainly glad, after our chat, we're certainly glad that you all could enjoy what we have to present to you today. And if you saw the promo, we're going back and we call it a continued focus on history and literacy. It's about that time every year. And this time we're exploring, and we've done before, the life and legacy of Harriet Tubman through the fourth annual summer reading program. Initiated by and continues to be successful by Mrs. Marjorie McIver, the icon of Conway, or icon of Horry County. And we're certainly glad to have her here who can really fill us out in depth as to what's going on. We would like for your parents especially to pay close attention because we want your children to be involved. And simultaneously, we're finishing up, or we're still having the World Community Magazine Summer Jobs Program, which we've had for the last 8 years. And it's going well. But we're doing it simultaneously, and at some point there'll be some synergy there too that we have to look at between the World Community Magazine and the summer reading program instituted by Miss Marjorie McIver. But anyway, April, we're going to discuss the assignment you said the assignment activities for the youth. I think you better give us a good overview than I can, I believe, because you were part of the summer enrichment program.
Well, I'm definitely a part of the team.
Yeah,
that,
right. The team, yeah.
That Mrs. McIver has assembled, and it's a small but mighty team, I must say.
Oh yeah,
it's mighty. She has an incredible cast of community leaders and educators who are helping with the summer reading initiative. But the scope of the work and the foundation of the work is all attributed to the vision that Ms. McIver has for the students and the youth every single year. For the past 4 years, this is the fourth summer. Because we were doing this during COVID. There have been several books that we've read. It started with Ghost Boys, and then we read Stella by Starlight. Last year was the Green Book, and this year we are studying the life and legacy of Harriet Tubman. And it's great because this summer literacy program initiative, it covers a very wide scope in terms of the age groups that are able to participate. So we have ages 7 to 18 that are able to participate in this program. And I know you say, well, how are they putting the 7-year-olds with the 18-year-olds? That's not what the program does. The program actually is divided into 2 distinct groups. And Ms. McIver will explain as well that the program elements are customizable, especially for the younger kids. So we're not leaving anybody out, no child left behind. But also it takes a Herculean effort to pull something like this together and get the kids involved. And I'm not going to steal her thunder, but I will say that since she pulled it all together and we posted it on the WCM Magazine website, the registrations have been going through the roof. And we will even show you the registration page tonight. So for the parents who have questions about the summer reading program and everything it entails, this is the show for you to watch. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring on none other than the icon. I love saying that, the icon, Marjorie McIver. How are you this evening?
I'm wonderful, April, and hello, Mr. McQueen. It's a pleasure to be here. I am so excited about this year's program. with all of the possibilities that it has for our young people.
Wow.
Absolutely. And you're looking beautiful, I must say. You're ready for the summer. You ready for the initiative. What are you doing to maintain that beauty?
Well, I'm on this program, and we'll talk about that at another time. It's called
Yes.
2M, Eager to Motivate.
Yeah.
And it's a total mind-body transformation program. I truly love it. But we'll talk about
Absolutely.
that another time.
Yes, we will. Well,
She's a very disciplined lady, April, and I bet she's following that program to a T.
Yes.
Okay, you can tell by the way she looks.
Absolutely. So, well, Mr. McIver, where would you like to start? I've kind of framed it so that everyone will understand how long the program has been going on and the different books that we've read over the past few summers. But I guess I could start with the question of, why study the legacy and the life of Harriet Tubman, and what is the significance to our area, especially since we are in the Gullah Geechee Corridor?
Well, that is definitely why we are studying it, because we want our young people to know their history. And because Harriet Tubman was so instrumental in situations and concerns in education during along the corridor, we know wherever there was a body of water, we could probably place Harriet Tubman there. But we do have someone on the program who's going to share much more information about that legacy and what is coming into Georgetown.
Yeah.
As most of you are aware, it was about 2010, we started a summer literacy academic enrichment program. And from that program, we taught every content area, including daily Spanish lessons that were taught to the young people. And we did that for 10 years. But since COVID, we could not meet in person, face to face any more. So we created the summer literacy program, which was conducted through by Zoom sessions. And now we are able to do not just the Zoom, but we are able to do some face-to-face contacts with the young people. It is important that they know their history, and it helps them to, I guess, develop self-esteem. It helps them to develop skills in reading, writing, technology, because we have a strong digital component to this program. It helps our young people to network with others, because Georgetown, South Carolina is our sister city. And we have now found ways to connect with them, especially through a group called the Village People, founded by Ray Funny and his wife, Queen Funny. And we've connected with them as well. And these young people are able to share their learnings in schools. We encourage them to do that, especially since many of the schools now are, I guess, monitoring what is taught by way of Black history in these schools. So the young people can take some of these ideas and activities and programs and actually introduce them in the classrooms. And parents can be instrumental in making sure that they are able to do that. So we focus strongly on our history and our heritage.
You spoke of your collaboration with the village group. Mr. Funny is really on the go down there. And I think Edric is working simultaneously with them, I believe.
Edric Austin.
Edric Austin, yes. I never realized the magnitude of that thing here until recently.
They have a very, very strong program going on, and they incorporate as much of the school content as they can through that summer program.
And the vision that has been displayed was at the last the ground opening of it was recorded in the magazine, which was 2 issues ago. Okay, it was a groundbreaking for the entire facility. I don't, it was shown. We showed it in the magazine, and I thought also in the broadcast about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks or
Right.
something like that. Yeah.
Well, I had an opportunity to work with the young people during the Atlantic Beach Gullah Geechee and Nature Festival. We had 33 young um, youth that participated in that literacy writing contest.
Wow. Yeah. So, so what part will one of the books I think is supposed to be co-authored or authored by Mr. Steve Williams of Georgetown?
Mr. Williams is the author
Yes, the
of
author.
both of the books.
Right.
The one that we're using with the ages 7 through 12 is on your left, and that's As I Travel Along. And it does feature the Harriet Tubman and James Bowley.
Yeah.
And Brother Steve will come on and share that information with you. The other book that we're using for the ages 13 through 18 is Harriet Tubman's and John Bowley's Most Excellent Adventure. Now, I will say this. We have some very, very sharp youth who have been working in our programs for years. We have some 11 and 12-year-olds that are working in the 13 through 18-year-old packet. We have some 6-year-olds and one 5-year-old that's working in the packet that has the 7 to 12 years old. We don't encourage it unless the parents are definitely willing to, work with their young people. And so we do have 2 families that we're going to see featured in some of the final presentations that these young people will share with us. We have 2 families that are going to be a part of some skit or some activity that they're putting together with their family. And I'm looking forward to seeing those presentations.
Yeah, as every year they come up with some visions, man. I'll tell you. I mean,
It's
it
been
leaves you
wonderful.
in awe. It leaves you in awe.
And I will say about these young people that have been participating in this program for the past 4 years in this particular program, our students learn how to write. They're accustomed to reading because reading to write, writing to read. They're accustomed to doing research, and they're accustomed to putting all of that learning into action.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So these young people are definitely ready for school.
Wow. That's so great. So the books, by the way, I don't know what the price of prices are, but I thumbed through both of them, I believe, and I think we have a copy here, and it was exciting, animated in some respect, but the animation is to the point where it captures you, and you have to follow the story. Okay.
Well, one of the things I want to do, I want to give kudos right now to Joella McQueen, because she's one of the ones who whetted our appetites back in February, and she had done some traveling. And through those travels, she brought back a lot of pamphlets and brochures on Harriet Tubman. And it was so ironic that during February, I was doing a presentation at church, and it was on Harriet Tubman and things that I just didn't even know. Yeah. These were little known facts. And at that time, Marilyn Hemingway sent out some flyers and information about the sculpture that was coming to Georgetown. So it just made sense to make this fit with our summer reading. And thanks to Joella and I, we are having a bus to transport the people from Conway to that August 5th unveiling of the statue. Yeah. So these kids will have some first-hand experiences. And also, Steve will be there to sign these books. I've already purchased 25 books, and I only have a few copies left. He brought some today. So I purchased those 25 books, and these books will be taken with us on this tour, bus trip to Georgetown, so that Mr. Williams could sign those books personally for the young people.
Fantastic. We're supposed to have Mr. Williams on the show. Is that correct, April? We're going to.
Yeah, it looks like he's experiencing some technical difficulties, brother.
Okay.
Will you please check your private chat, and we will work with him to get him on the show. But in the meantime, Ms. McIver, a part of the resource materials that are provided to the students for research it includes a list of people who are acting as resources for these young people. And it's a pretty impressive list. And all of them, of course, have some type of connection to all of the aspects of the Gullah Geechee Heritage Corridor and the, any of the initiatives to bring awareness and create awareness of the corridor. So you have Zenobia Harper, Marilyn Hemingway, Victoria Smalls is listed, Denise Graham Bellamy of the Atlantic Beach Historic Committee, Alice Graham Adderton, Veronica Gerald Floyd, and of course, Mayor Barbara Blaine Bellamy is also listed as a resource, and she's the mayor of Conway. But talk about why it was essential to include these individuals as resources. They're pretty much living resources, if you think about it.
And they're local. They're not, but they're local. And each one has agreed to accept any contacts from our young people. As a matter of fact, last year, there were several on that list that were contacted and interviewed, and the young people used them in their final presentation or in some of the activities that they were completing. So I give kudos to those folks who, and even as late as yesterday, talking to Marilyn Hemingway, sure, tell him to call, I'll be available. I'll make myself available. Same holds true for Steve, Zenobia Harper. Zenobia has been doing some other things that connect to the Gullah Geechee Corridor. She deals with the flooding, the water samples. She's planted her own garden in Georgetown. And she has brought some of the, I guess you'd call it vegetation. I'm not familiar with outdoors, but she's brought some to one of the 6-year-old who is now starting his garden. And he is a part of this program as well. We haven't been encouraging anyone younger than 7, but as long as they know how to read and can comprehend some things, we'll be more than glad to work with them. And for the 5 and 6-year-old, we've modified our packet. But again, getting back to April's point, those resource persons that we have listed are invaluable. They come to us from all different experiences as it relates to the Gullah Geechee Corridor. Marilyn Hemingway of the Gullah Geechee Chamber. We have Victoria Smalls, who is the executive director of the Gullah Geechee Corridor. And we know that corridor, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, extends itself from North Carolina, and some say Wilmington and some other parts of North Carolina down to the northern tip of Florida. Anywhere that there was that body of water present, you would find this connection. And Marilyn Hemingway also has the Gullah Geechee Seafood Trail. So you know where seafood comes from, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we've got some excellent resource persons, including our committee. April Garner has a lot of digital background. She has background in history and just about any topic that we've presented. She's able to articulate on that. And then we have my daughter Hannah, who helped initiate that first effort with the first book that we used. And April mentioned some of the books, Estella by Starlight, by Susan Draper. We had Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes. We had The Watsons Go to Birmingham, and The Green Book, and Opening the Road. All of the literature that we've been studying for the past 3 years, now going on 4, have connections, and
Right. Yeah.
they also can be connected to this corridor.
Right.
When you think about Watson going to Birmingham in The Green Book, the travel, and how Blacks had to survive as they go along the corridor or travel anywhere down south. Now you've got Harriet Tubman, and I've got another little resource that I'm using for the 5 and 6-year-olds called Courage. It's a little book called Courage, and I've taken the literature and I've transformed it to accommodate that age group. They have to look at the courage that was demonstrated by Harriet Tubman throughout that journey of freeing
Right.
the slaves.
Slaves.
So that's an interesting little piece of literature. So if we do have some parents that want something for their children younger than 7, I've already created a packet for them. So
You got a package for them, huh?
yeah.
That's pretty. I mean, it's interesting. What is that age the group now? From 7 to what?
It's 7 to 12 and 13 to
12.
18. But to be honest with you, I have 4 young people who are 11 and 12 that want the packet that belong to the 13 to 18 age group. And they have demonstrated over the years that they can handle it. So we're not boxing kids in to a particular grade level or particular age group. If the young people can handle it, and I know those 4 can, that's why they're working on that packet that will be more intense and more research driven.
Right. Also, McIver, we try to compensate them in some kind of way for their time, even though they're the great beneficiaries. But at the same time, wanting their presence and maintaining their presence, they're seeking compensation in some kind of way. So there are provisions for a stipend. Can you elaborate on that?
Okay, I tell you what, the floodgates are opening even more so today. We have some sources that came just unexpectedly. But before I even get into that, the World Community Magazine has been instrumental in raising funds, getting donations, and some of those donations have come to the summer literacy. And when you think about it, it does make sense because we have our young people that are participating in both the summer job program and the literacy. So these young people can earn stipends that way. And we've also got contributions from a group of traveling RV folks. They call themselves NAVA, and they travel all across the country in these RVs. One of a couple of our students had a relative that's a part of that group, and they met for their reunion this year in North Myrtle Beach, invited us to come along and to, share what we do here. And so we did that. And those folks took up 2 collections while they were there. And they sent the collection by way of a relative to me. So that money is available. We also have some local groups that will be participating in this every year. The Walkamore Primary, of course. That's my son, and he has no choice. So he gives his donation, his wife, Angela. So they've been very good in helping us with this. In addition to that, I got a call the other night from a young lady who was sharing how instrumental some of these programs have been in her life. She was
Right.
coming out, and her daughter, and she has pledged to send a monthly donation. It was just unbelievable, unexpected. But there are people who are supporting, and these parents have stepped up to the plate. If I need something, they'll be able to, they'll have lent themselves to, helping in whatever way. We donate the books. And at this point, we will probably not be able to purchase any more of the books, but the books will be available. And Mr. Williams has assured me as late as today. So some of the parents may have to purchase those books. I'm not sure. But right now, I do have a few more that could be given to the students.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. The individual contributors have been great.
Wow. Just think, if we had programmed institute like that when we were growing up, or when I was growing up anyway.
You could be a part of it.
Yeah. It's just, it's mind blowing sometimes. You think you missed out on a gold mine. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't want the kids to miss out, because if the history and culture is being diminished or reduced in the schools, then we've got to find ways, and the parents have got to step in and support those efforts.
Okay. Well, looks like we might have one of the author on. Were we able to get him, April?
I think we have him. We're going to try to bring him into the stream now. Brother Steve, how are you? Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm thankful and grateful. Please forgive me for not being tech savvy, but I've heard the entire conversation, and I'm so pleased and honored to have my books and my stories working with you and your students this summer. Let me say right quick that I'm very pleased that you have both books, because there's a wide range between the relationship between Harriet Tubman and Georgetown. A few years ago, about 10 years ago, I wrote a book called Ebony Effects. And in that book, I said that I used to be an educator as well as a school administrator. And we tend to learn about national icons, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, George Washington Carver, but we seldom revisit the local heroes who were just as instrumental. So living in Georgetown the last 15 years, I decided to write a book about some of the unknown heroes of Georgetown. Now, I did not know at the time the connection between Harriet Tubman and Georgetown, because it was not common knowledge. So this summer, the enrichment is extremely fortifying and enriching, because it tells a true story. Although the book is on a children's level, it is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about how Harriet Tubman, after the war, helped Georgetown, specifically through James Bowley. And this book tells the story of how James Bowley came to Georgetown from his father, John Bowley, who was a free Black. But unlike deep in the South, where we were basically cotton workers and rice workers and tobacco, in Maryland, which is where Harriet Tubman was enslaved, in Maryland, many of the enslaved people worked the waterfront. They were shipbuilders and blacksmiths, and they helped with shipbuilding industry. John Bowley was freed from his so-called master when he was 30. Now, what was not common knowledge is that free Blacks and enslaved Blacks could not, they couldn't marry. Some states would allow them to marry, but they could not live together. Okay, and so they seldom saw their spouse or their children. John was okay with that because he didn't have a choice. The sanctity of a Black marriage or Black family didn't exist. They could not control their destinies. But through the grapevine, he heard one day that his wife, Keziah Jolly, and his two children, James Bowley, who was 6 years old, and his infant daughter, Araminta, was going up on the auction block. He was very dismayed. He was depressed. He didn't know what he can do because he was a black man who loved his family. Now, little did he know that Harriet Tubman, who had escaped 1 year earlier in 1849, had also heard through the grapevine about Keziah and her 2 children. Now, here's what was not common knowledge 6 years ago. We learned this from a very prominent, eminent professor named Kate Lawson, who lives in Connecticut, that Harriet Tubman and Keziah Jolly were aunt and niece, but they were so close in age and they were raised together, they considered themselves sisters. So when she heard that she was, Keziah was going up on the auction block, she wrote John a secret letter, a coded letter, saying, I'm coming to Baltimore and I have a plan to rescue them. That is why the book is called John Bowley, not James, John Bowley and Harriet Tubman, Excellent Adventure, because they concocted a brilliant plan to literally take them off of the auction block. Them, James, who was 6, and Araminta, which is Harriet's real name. And so John went there and he bidded on it, but he didn't have a nickel. But for some inexplicable reason, the auctioneer decided to take lunch and break for lunch, and perhaps he was going to collect the money later. So after that, an abolitionist took them to a safe house. Later that night, someone left a boat for them, and John Bowley, being a master seaman, as well as a master craftsman, sailed 90 miles up the Chesapeake Bay. Well, at first he sailed down Choptank River through Chesapeake Bay to Baltimore. It's a very daring story. Now, how does that affect Georgetown? Well, none of us know what all of us can become until we get the opportunity. It just so happens that literally 17 years later, James Bowley, who was grown up now and possessed something that 98% of the other blacks did not have or possess, and that was an education. And so he came here in 1867 with the Freedmen's Bureau, and Harriet encouraged him to come help the people in Georgetown and South Carolina, and that is exactly what he did. He became a teacher. He was so successful in that he became the school commissioner. He was so successful in that they wanted him to run for the state legislature. He did that. He became the chairman of the Ways and Means. He became the 20th black lawyer in South Carolina. He opened literally the doors of South Carolina University to blacks who wanted to attend that university. He was a probate judge. He was a publisher of a newspaper. He sponsored a bank. What I'm trying to say, and I said this to Miss McIver earlier today, there are 2 movies getting ready to come out. I call them blockbusters. One is called Mission Impossible, starring, of course, Tom Cruise. And the other one, my man, Denzel Washington, called The Equalizer. And just think about it, because there's an old saying, truth is stranger than fiction. There will be people, millions of people, going to the movies to support the fiction. But how many will come to Georgetown and see a woman who not once, not twice, but 13 times risked her life for a real mission impossible to help her people? How many people will come to Georgetown to see and hear about James Bowley, who tried to equalize the opportunities for blacks at a time when they needed it most? So I was happy to write this book, and I'm happy the students are coming. And I want them to know that, as the scripture says, does anything good come out of Nazareth? What good things have come out of Georgetown? James Bowley and Harriet Tubman. And so I'm so pleased. I don't do this for money. I do this so that our students could see what success looks like and understand that somebody paved the road for them. And we've had a great opportunity to partner with the rest of Georgetown Business District, the library, the school system, and many through contests. And so we're totally happy with that.
Brother Steve, I think, and thank you for that narrative, by the way. The students are going to have a ball in Ms. McIver's class, going over that again. But
yes,
I'm sure, they may even find some more in extended research on that. You never know. But
absolutely,
relative to the traveling, when the monument is supposed to come, or the sculpture is supposed to come to Georgetown. You mind letting the people know where it's going to be placed?
I'm glad you mentioned that. First of all, it is coming up from Yamasee, which is where it is currently. It's a traveling exhibit. The only difference is that we're keeping it in Georgetown for 3 months, starting August all the way up to Halloween. And we have activities wrapped around that. So the unveiling will be Saturday, August the 5th at 11:30. And we're going to have the sculptor come and his wife. We're going to have the eminent scholar, Dr. Lawson. We're going to have the great, great, great niece, your wife knows, Tina Wyatt. And we're going to have, and several other dignitaries around there. I have books and activities. We have a group called the Gullah Kin folks. We have Natalie Days, who's there's a lot of activities wrapped around it. And we've been meeting about 15 organizations for a year now, and it's coming to fruition in about 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks. And we're happy about that. Now, let me just say this.
The location will be at the Rainey Park, right?
Joseph Haynes Rainey Park, downtown Front and King Street. Okay. Yes.
That should be exciting.
April, you have the flyer that has the dates of these activities. Can you share that?
April, you got to.
Okay. Yes, I will pull that up in just a moment. Keep talking.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, and go ahead, Brother McQueen.
No, just waiting on you because you have all the knowledge regarding this. So,
Well, like I said, if we don't tell our story, no one else will tell it correctly. I didn't know all of the things that James Bowley had done. Even when I was in high school, I had no idea the relationship between Joseph Haynes Rainey and a fellow named Charles Sumner, who was a very prominent senator back in the 1800s. So there's a lot of history we don't know, but we can be proud of that because, as you well know, they are trying to limit things because they're saying, well, I saw something on TV yesterday where they said the Tulsa massacre had nothing to do with race. But that's a rare form of stupidity. It had everything to do with race. But it is incumbent, is necessary for we to teach our children. You see, the Jewish community don't wait to send their children to school to learn about the Holocaust. The Native American community don't wait to send their kids to school to learn about who is the indigenous people who first came to Columbus, first lived in America. So when they say Columbus, they know that dog doesn't hunt. It's necessary to do what Ms. McIver and you guys are doing to educate our own children with the facts, because they're taking books like To Kill a Mockingbird and I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. They're trying to limit all of that. And that's okay, but most of what I know today came from my parents.
I sometimes I hesitate to express my opinion on, and you're talking about the CRT, where that's the case there, I believe.
Yes.
But don't be surprised if we look at that as a blessing, and that's all I'll say about that, because opportunities are going to be opened up for all of our communities to really showcase all the Black history that was in so-called in public schools, but that was diluted anyway. Okay. So,
right.
Yeah. So
one of the things I neglected to mention, please forgive me, is that we ran a contest, we being the Bring Harriet Home collaborative, where we opened it up to all of the schools in Georgetown County, where kids could learn through research about and put a oratorical speech together or essay or an art project. And we have winners And they're going to be compensated with cash prizes as well as certificates and recognized publicly. I'm happy to say one of the students is from the village group, a ninth grader who did an excellent job on the essay. So I'm very proud of that because they went the extra mile to learn about the true relationship. One of the prompt question was, what would James Bowley's life have been like had he not had an education? Okay. The other question is, what would Georgetown be like? Because see, Harriet Tubman never set foot in the city of Georgetown, but I declare that she could not possibly be more proud of what James had done because he was 6 years old and his life could have gone any direction. But what he did, because of her, she had the fortitude to say, I'm going to, and she worked $1 a week and gave half of it for his education. So there's a lot to learn about what Harriet did for Georgetown. Oh, I forgot to say this. During the time he was school commissioner, there was no resources, very little money. So he reached out to her in Auburn, New York, and she literally raised what is equivalent today to be $10,000. She raised $500 twice. And through that sent supplies and clothing and books and other things that the schools needed. I'm telling you, she went out of her way to help her nephew in Georgetown, and we're going to celebrate that.
April, and Edward, do we have time to glance through one of the packets?
We do have time to glance through one of the packets. What I'm going to do, though, is take a little quick break. But before we do, want to put this QR code on the screen. And this is very important for those of you, especially those of you who use your cell phones or even your iPads. All you need to do is grab your phone, pull up your camera icon, and as if you're going to take a picture, but you are going to focus it on the square that you see on the screen, and a website URL will pop up. If you click on that, you will be able to pull up information about what Mr. Williams was talking about. Bring Harriet Home, if you can see this. And it gives you all of the information that you need, but also it allows you to stay up to date on everything that's happening on this journey to bring Harriet home. So if you will scan the QR code, you can bring that up on your phone or your iPads immediately, or you can visit the website bringharriethome.org, and you will be able to see that information as well. So I was looking at your brochure and I thought this is a really good way for everybody to kind of, engage in this while he's talking. So I wanted to show that. But Ms. McIver, I'm going to bring up one of the packets. Is there anyone in particular you want me to bring up?
It really doesn't matter. Some of them have each has the same component in some instance.
Okay, all right. So let me, while I segue into that, Brother Edward, if you will, just I like what Brother Steve was talking about as far as, the importance and the critical reasons why we need to continue to highlight our history, especially this important history, because, we learn about these on a national level. We learn about these, historical figures, through stories in classrooms, but they're very abbreviated stories. And, now there's an opportunity for the local community to really focus in on something that happened basically in their backyards or in their front doors. Absolutely. And, so there's a intrinsic sense of connection that we all will probably feel as we step into the pathway and we listen to the stories and we see this traveling monument and we realize, wow, Harriet came through, this pathway here in Georgetown, and she rested here, she did X here, she did Y here. So, Brother Williams, as you were writing the books, and I'm just trying to kind of frame it up so that I can have some time to pull that packet up. But as you were writing the books, what struck you the most? Like, what moved your soul to continue writing those pages to tell the story? I'm sure you had a personal connection to this, that was beyond just being a Georgetown native. as you were writing, what really stirred you to say, you know what, I really got to tell this story?
Well, thank you for asking that question. What really moved me, I was very impressed with the things that James Foley did, but the fact that Harriet Tubman went out of her way to help students. See, it's hard to conceptualize what life was like for African Americans in the South in 1868. Believe me, we struggled mightily. That's why the writer says, "Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod." So Harriet Tubman, like I said, was so proud of James, and all of us want to be proud of something. Every parent wants to be proud of their children. Absolutely. She had no idea at 6 years old what his life would have been like. But when she found out that he had done all of those great things, she was determined to help him. And what really broke me down was, even while she was emancipating other people, she was working in Philadelphia for $1 a week and giving 50 cents of it to the school. Now, that was a lot of money back then, comparatively speaking. But she understood that this boy is going to be somebody. And that's what it's all about. You know, I have a poem that says the father threw batting practice to his daughter. So when life began to throw curves at her, she would not strike out. That's what we do as parents. We do all that we can for our children and giving them an opportunity. There's no guarantee they're going to be okay, but we want them to have that opportunity. Every parent wants that.
Absolutely. Well said, Steve. So we've got now we've recognized the synergy between what you're offering, Ms. McIver, and Steve books. So where can we go from here? What's our next steps here? And the other thing is, when is the program going to begin? The reading initiative.
Well, it's already begun. April has already put up the registration information online. And thanks again to Joella McQueen for bringing Steve's second book to us, the first and second, really. And as I read through it, it just made sense to keep it local, to highlight what, Steve and Marilyn and those are doing in Georgetown, our sister city. So our next step now is to have these young people to submit the activities once it's completed. Do not wait until you complete the entire packet. I can have an opportunity along with this committee to review the materials that are submitted and offer suggestions. As far as as it relates to the resources that we have out there. April, historian, she brings the history to us in a very enlightened way. Joella makes sure that we keep abreast of what's going on across South Carolina and other places. Marlo Frazier deals a lot with the digital component, as well as April. We have April Brown and Hannah McIver. They look through the literature and offer suggestions as well, and work with the development of the curriculum. And that's the way we've done it for years. One of the features of this year's program is going to be that doll making and jewelry making component. The parents have gotten into it. I had to order more doll supplies as late as yesterday, because the parents want to make some of the dolls available. So we hope to have a display. And I've talked to Marilyn, who perhaps will find a space for us to place those dolls when we come down on August 5th. So we want to continue to encourage our young people to work with these packets. It's going to help them tremendously when they enter school this fall. We've got some of the young people like Samaya Muhammad, who was a part of this program from 7 years old. She's 10 now, I believe, 9 or 10. And she writes a monthly column in the World Community Magazine. She does not like to write. She doesn't like to read any more than what she has to, but was encouraged to take a camera. We got her a camera. And with that camera, I told her if she took pictures with it, she has to write about it. But she does that monthly article in the magazine and does a fantastic job with it. We've got somebody like Mariah Floyd, who during the Atlantic Beach Gullah Festival wrote and performed her original song. And it's something that, brought like a standing ovation. The presentation was excellent. And she talked about the changes that were going to come, are the changes that have occurred in her lifetime and in her parents. So we try to encourage these kids to put this learning into action. And I've heard many times that knowledge is not power without application.
Mm-hmm.
Steve has put his into his books. The kids now are encouraged to take that work and make use of it. The learning is good, but what do you do once you've learned? Mm-hmm. How do you handle it? Do you share it?
Absolutely, Ms. McIver. And I'm scrolling through the website. This is the World Community Magazine website. And if you are on our homepage, it's really easy to get to the Summer Reading Initiative information. You can do so from the actual menu by clicking here, or you can click on this image of Harriet Tubman, and it will take you to that registration page. But basically, all you need to do is go to the page. It gives you a little bit of information, including a visual of the book so that you can make sure that you have the correct literature if you need to order your own. And then when you scroll down, there's a little bit of information, descriptions of the books, the participant requirements, and then from there, all you need to do, and parents, please help your children to fill out this registration form. Some of the children are doing a very good job, or some of the students are doing a very good job, but when they get to this home address, city, state, and zip code, I can't tell you how many times we've had to go back and say, okay, you gave us your address, but we need the city, state, and zip code. That is the importance of reading carefully and making sure that you understand what is required. But if you will add that information, all of this information, including the school and the grade level, and click submit, we will receive the registration, and then Ms. McIver will be in touch with you with more information about the program. But in the meantime, Ms. McIver wanted me to show one of the packets, and I'm going to bring the packet up now. So this is the one for the 7 to 12-year-old Ms. McIver, and it has all of the activities so that, the viewers can get a glimpse at the work that students have to choose from, the requirements and things of that nature. And also, we probably want to talk a little bit about the deadline and when this program wraps up as well.
Okay. The materials and supplies, I have a lot of it housed here. The doll making, the jewelry making, you can come and put together a packet of materials and take it with you so you can complete that activity. The books, as I said, I'm limited now. I have several books that are left that, first come, first served basis. And if you come, and we'll direct you as to how you can get a copy of the book that you will be using. We are asking that the young people submit the materials to us no later than August 7th. Now, the doll making, of course, we want to try to get the dolls before we go on that trip. We want to travel with our dolls. So if you're doing that, we'd ask that that you get that to us by then. And then we will have on the live stream, the final presentations will be done, or we'll do it by Zoom, but April controls that piece. So she's going to have to share with you, how that is going to be handled when it when we come to that point of the presentation. We want the young people to make sure that they proofread materials before they submit it. I encourage that not just with these summer projects, but especially in school when you're submitting. Make sure that your writing is legible, that people can read it. And a lot of folks have this fancy writing, and it's hard to decipher, what the words are. So we ask that you write legibly, write neatly, that the final project that presentation that you have has to be an oral and a visual presentation. So that means technology will be a vital part of this. We're not going to be a stickler for, the grammar and punctuation, because we realize it's not much being taught in the schools right now with that. And the young people who write phonetically, there are some people that write the way the words sound. So we encourage those folks to take those cell phones and look at spelling and spell checks and
absolutely.
punctuations before you submit them. We're not taking off for that, but we will give you suggestions as to how you can improve in those areas. Edward talked about the stipend. Our young people have gotten as much as $150 for the completion of. And these are folks who've been committed and dedicated and followed through with everything. They did not rush through their work. They made sure that the activities were completed based on what was required and requested. We used to use something called the 10 power words. And these are words that we use even when the young people are taking standardized tests or, SAT, PSAT. Words like define. You got to read these instructions carefully. Define something, compare or compare and contrast, list. There's a difference between writing a paper and listing what you're going to put in the paper. So we are asking that you read carefully what these activities are asking you to do. And if it's got more than one part, read all the parts and make sure that you're completing all of them. We have two other activities that we put in at the last minute. And one specifically because we had some younger kids that wanted to be a part of it. So we have the word research, word search.
Mm-hmm.
But for the older kids, we're asking them to take those words and do some things with them. And then we have for the younger kids, this information on courage. And I came across this little book that Zenobia Harper had in the list of books that she brought here. And the book is entitled Courage. And as I read through the book, I thought, oh my God, this describes Harriet Tubman to a T. And if it doesn't, we could create activities that will let us learn more about her life. And so that's what I've done in that. The courage that it took for her to travel at night, the courage that it took for her to go back again and again and again to free, risking her life and, of course, the lives of others. How brave and courageous she was to take her entire family, those that would go with her, taking them back with her, going to the auction block and getting some of her family members off the auction block. But a lot of things that went on during the life and the books that Steve has, we've tried to recreate them through those activities. And there should be no activities that would present themselves as being too much for these young people. And all you have to do is call any one of us. You've got the list of resources in the packet. If you have any questions, now we will have a meeting And we will have a Zoom meeting to make sure that the young people have their questions and concerns addressed.
So I know you mentioned the Zoom for the final presentations,
Yes.
and basically we have a Zoom, and everyone will receive a link. Everyone who participates and completes the final presentations, after we've collated or compiled all of these submissions, and we'll get them ready. We will have everyone on the Zoom, and that's all participants and the organizers. And Ms. Mack, last year, did we invite parents to be a part of this?
They were.
Parents were a part of it. They could view, and we encourage you, make it a family affair. Support the young people, and they were able to present their projects. Each one of them had a specific amount of time. If they have a visual, for example, a video clip of some sort, basically we play the video clip, and whatever time frame that is, we'll watch the entire video, and then we kind of keep it moving because we have a number of students whose work needs to be shown. But it is very inspiring. It is just awesome to see the level of creativity, especially from the younger kids. Mm-hmm. And it's just a wonderful day of project sharing, and these are like capstone projects if you think about it. So they're already getting a taste of what it's like to do a capstone project, Ms. Matt. They'll learn about that when they go to college. But the bottom line is, the summer literacy program, it is a way to definitely keep that mind going and to spark that creativity, but also to learn the history lessons that are not taught in the classrooms. And you're doing it with none other than community historians and leaders and educators who've done an amazing job of pulling together this awesome curriculum. And I'm personally excited to always be a part of this. So
I can't wait for the video. I can't wait for the videos to come.
I know the videos are always nice. I'm telling you, the little newspapers and things that we see. I mean, it's amazing what these kids come up with. It really is. So, but anyway, Ms. Mack, is there anything else you want to share? As a registrant, if you register your student to be a part of the program, of course, we will keep in touch with you, send out communications to you about when the Zoom will happen. You'll receive the Zoom link. So just make sure you're completing that registration form thoroughly, and that you're not misspelling any names or your email addresses or anything like that. We'll reach out to you to try and get that information, but take your time completing the registration form. And Ms. Mack is the primary point of contact, but like she said, any of us who are listed in the packet will be more than happy to answer your questions. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And before we close, I just want to give kudos to this young lady, and you are familiar with her because she's participated in this program for 4 years, and that's Miss Layla Bromell.
Oh, yes.
Layla came Sunday evening to get all of the materials, her packet and books and whatever. And that was Sunday evening around 5 o'clock. Before I went to bed, she had already submitted one of the activities, and it was a PowerPoint, and it was beautiful. So we encourage you young people to do the best work that you can do. Mm-hmm. And you've got all of these resource people that would be available to help you.
Yes. And
yeah, that's very encouraging. Just listening to that, I mean, that's very encouraging.
Yeah. Ms. McIver talked a little bit earlier about proofreading the work. Parents, this is where you come in. Take a look at your child's work before they submit it, and just make sure that everything is exactly the way they want it, or what they intended to present in their presentations. There's a lot of materials coming through, and I don't know if Ms. Mack is able to look through every single little aspect of it, but we do check to make sure that all components are there, but we don't always check for, certain aspects of the activities, because, that's what you and your students should be working on. Now, if I receive a video or something like that and it doesn't work, then typically Marlo and I would try to troubleshoot that to make sure that we let you know that we need a different file format. But other than that, whatever you submit to us is what we're going to show during the final presentation. So like she says, put your best work forward, have fun with it. Miss Mack and Brother Elwood, you both mentioned the stipend. I think we talked a little bit about the field trips. Can you touch on that a little bit more before we close?
On August 5th, we do have a bus, and thanks to Joella and Edward, we do have a bus, and we've really got 2 buses, but we're trying to get one for the 5th. And now that the 26th activity is coming up on the 26th, the Gullah Kinfolks Theater, traveling theater, we want to try to have the other bus maybe for that. So those 2 activities we know we will, be participating in. And Marilyn Hemingway has assured me that we will be able to incorporate the young people in some of the activities, especially a tour during the time that we go on the 5th. We will try to tour some of historic Georgetown while we are there and eat in one of the local restaurants. So
that's always nice.
Yeah.
So Brother Edward, these young people have an opportunity to participate in some great educational activities that are fun and enriching. They're going to get a stipend for it, and they get to go on a field trip, a historical tour. And I think that's just an amazing summer. That sounds like a great way to wrap your summer up.
As I said earlier, I was telling Margie that if we only had that when we were growing up.
I know, right?
Oh, man. I don't know where my head would have been by now. I don't know.
These activities keep me enlightened. There's so much that I didn't know. So I'm reading and reading and reading. Anything that I get my hands on, I'm reading, and learning. Never too old.
Yeah, you don't like to use that word, so.
Well, that's why I keep reading.
Well, that's right. Well, these 2 books that are coming up, you're really going to be reading some more. Just a little bit about content on the inside. Some of it is animated, but it was so capturing, to me anyway. So once somebody begins to start looking at that you're going to find that it's capturing that way. It's kind of unusual for animation to kind of capture it like that. But the story was being told. Okay.
And our parents are so interested in these projects and activities. You should see them accumulating all the materials, the cloths that Zenobia Harper has brought so much fabric here, African fabric. And, they're able to use those in the creation of the dolls. And the parents want to do the dolls too. So it's going to be a beautiful collaboration, among the families.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait. It's just around the corner, August 5th. Okay. I'm putting 2 and 2 together there, but I'm not jumping from one to the other, but I wanted to refer to the Harriet Tubman visit. I mean, the sculpture visit.
And it's not too late for parents to register. It's not too late. We'll gear the packet toward them with the time that we have left. So.
Yep, sounds good. Well, Brother Edward, I tell you, this has been an amazing show once again. And Miss Margie, thank you for all that you do, as everyone said in the comments, and for just pulling this together every single Sunday or summer. And it's a wonderful thing for the youth. It's a way to get their minds charged and ready to go for the school year. And so just wish you all the luck. And of course, you're doing everything possible to stay healthy so you can keep up with everything that's going on. And that's a wonderful thing. She said she's going to tell us about that a little bit later, y'all. But
her plate is full. Okay, I'll say right now, can't put another grain of rice on that plate. That plate is full.
She'll try though. She will try. She will try.
Okay.
As long as young people are involved, I'm fine.
That's right. That keeps it. Okay. All right. So it's about the end of it. Unfortunately, we're coming to a close of our program. So until next week, we want to, well, first of all, we thank Ms. McIver and Steve, but Steve has a wonderful narrative of just the journey with the Bowley and the Tubman journey together. That was fantastic. You're going to get more of that later on, and a lot of when he's going to probably finish up another book. I'm sure he's working on another one.
You might be featured in that, Mr. McQueen.
No, I doubt that. I doubt that. But anyway, better luck, Godspeed to him. Okay, and Godspeed to you, Ms. McIver.
Listen, thank you all for having me. And
good to have you.
Thank you.
So until next week, our audience, and on behalf of April, who've been doing a fantastic job over there on the other end. We'll see you next week, same time at 7 p.m. right here. You can get us on wcmagazine.net. The tonight or tomorrow, the new edition of the July edition of the World Community Magazine will be coming out.
Awesome.
So, we're gonna try to send them out. We have this massive email system. We'll try to send them out as much as possible, but it's going to be posted onto the website, I guess, by maybe Thursday or something like that, April.
Okay.
I guess. And you can get the full content there. Okay. You're going to enjoy this issue as the most of them, as the ones in the past, but this one is going to be really enjoyable. We're going to see some of our historic medical professionals in the Horry County area, dating all the way back to 1930.
Ooh.
Okay, 1940. Yeah. See some of our nurses, the first black nurses we had over at the old Conway Hospital. Okay. It's going to be interesting. All right.
You know what I like about what you're saying?
What?
We're not waiting until Black History Month to do this.
No.
Look, Black History 365. I love it. Black History 365. Yes.
Why wait? Why? Why does it have to be? Why do we have to wait until February? No.
That's right.
No. Harriet Tubman didn't wait until February.
Okay.
All right.
She didn't mess around with those who wanted to wait. Okay. That's why she's one of my favorites. I absolutely love her. Absolutely.
All right. So until next week, our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. And we're going to be signing off here, and can't wait until next week to tell you about, well, I don't know who our guest is going to be right now, but God willing, we'll have another guest for you all.
We'll have some good stuff.
Yeah, we have some good stuff. Okay. Try to reach on the same scale that we have one today with the icon of Conway. All right. And put that one in there, Ms. Mac. All right. Good night.
Night.
See you next week, 7 p.m.
Thanks
Yes.
again.
Okay. Yes.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you for watching the World Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.